All right, welcome to the Sexplainer, where we're breaking down an absolute heavyweight bout between the Los Angeles Dodgers and the Philadelphia Phillies. Look, if you follow baseball, you already know these two franchises are total powerhouses. This series, it literally has all the makings of a spectacular October preview. We're going to unpack exactly what makes this matchup so explosive, from the deep-seated historical bad blood right down to the raw numbers defining their 2026 season.
Okay, let's just quickly run through the agenda for this 360-degree breakdown. We'll start with the clash of the Titans, move into a rivalry renewed, cover an explosive recent matchup, do a tale of the tape, highlight tonight's epic pitching duel, and finally wrap up with the road to the World Series.
Before we even look at the stats, we really have to ask the ultimate question hanging over this potential October preview. Who truly rules the National League? Seriously, both of these teams are absolutely loaded with talent, they both have super deep pockets, and both have fan bases that demand, well, nothing short of a championship. This explainer is going to give you the exact context you need to answer that very question.
So let's start with the stakes, because these two teams are the perennial favorites towering over the rest of the league. Section 1, Clash of the Titans, the stakes of the season.
And honestly, this right here brilliantly illustrates why this series matters so much. The Dodgers and Phillies hold the absolute best World Series odds in all of baseball right now. The Dodgers are the overall favorites, sitting at plus 300, but breathing right down their necks are the Phillies at plus 450. They're actually even edging out the American League heavyweight New York Yankees, who sit at plus 500. When these two teams step onto the diamond, you aren't just watching a regular season game, you know? You're literally watching the two teams most likely to lift the Commissioner's Trophy this fall.
But to really understand the tension today, we've got to look at their deep history. Moving on to Section 2. A rivalry renewed, decades of postseason bad blood. You see, this rivalry has a long memory. They have a real habit of colliding when it matters most. Going all the way back to the late 1970s, the Dodgers completely broke Philadelphia's heart by taking the National League Championship Series in 1977. And then they did it all over again in 1978, winning that series 3-1. But hey, we don't even have to look back that far to find the bad blood. Just last year, in the 2025 postseason, these two clashed again, with LA taking the NLDS. Every single time they meet, that historical weight is just sitting right there in the dugout.
And that history brings us to the absolute slugfest that was last night's game, a wild ride from start to finish. Section 3, an explosive recent matchup, recapping the July 20th slugfest.
So the Phillies took the latest round 10-7, claiming their 1,000th regular season win at Citizens Bank Park in this chaotic, high-energy offensive explosion. I mean, this game had absolutely everything you want as a baseball fan. We saw a combined 6 home runs leave the yard, but it wasn't just raw power, it was a game defined by high-tension fielding errors and super aggressive stolen bases. The momentum was swinging back and forth violently before Philadelphia finally locked the whole thing down. Now the real story here is Trea Turner, who completely redeemed himself after a total nightmare in the field. Turner committed 2 brutal fielding errors. Actually, those were his 15th and 16th of the season, and they directly led to Dodgers runs. But you just cannot keep this guy down. He stepped up to the plate and completely wiped out those defensive mistakes by smashing a massive double, a 3-run homer, and a 2-run homer. Wow. It's just the perfect illustration of how high-powered and resilient this Philadelphia lineup really is.
And if you love the long ball, Bryce Harper also joined the party, launching his 200th career home run as a Philadelphia Philly. Harper absolutely annihilated a pitch into left field off Landon Knack. Hitting 200 home runs for a single franchise, that's a massive milestone. And doing it against your biggest National League rival in a high-stakes July matchup, that just makes it so much sweeter for the Phillies faithful. But not to be outdone, Mookie Betts kept the Dodgers fighting in this heavyweight bout with an incredible 4-hit night and a massive solo shot. Sure, the Dodgers may have lost the game, but Betts proved exactly why he's one of the most dangerous men in the sport. He went 4 for 5, and his home run traveled a scorching 401 feet with 100-mile-per-hour exit velocity. It just goes to show, even when they're down, the Dodgers superstars can strike at literally any moment.
So the crucial point is figuring out how these teams stack up over the course of the whole season. Let's look at Section 4, Tale of the Tape, Head-to-Head Season Stats.
Slowing the pace down to look at the broader season stats, we can clearly see the Dodgers hold a distinct overall offensive advantage. I mean, just look at these numbers. Los Angeles sits at an incredible 63-38, comfortably first in the NL West.
They're hitting .260 as a team, which is second best in the entire MLB, and they've crossed the plate 524 times, ranking third in runs scored. The Phillies, on the other hand, while a very strong 56 and 45, are hitting just .237 as a team. That puts them way down at 22nd in the league, and they rank 16th in runs scored with 442. So strictly on paper, the Dodgers' contact and run production are vastly superior.
However, there's a big catch. The Phillies boast 133 total home runs, ranking fourth in all of Major League Baseball, proving their explosive power can completely neutralize LA's consistent hitting. As we saw in last night's recap, Philadelphia might not get as many hits, but when they do connect, they leave the yard. This power dynamic completely changes the math of any given game. The Dodgers hit for incredible consistency for sure, but the Phillies can erase a deficit with just a single swing of the bat.
Now, for those of you setting your fantasy lineups tonight, this explosive offense is about to run into an absolute brick wall. Section 5, tonight's epic pitching duel, July 21st matchup.
Tonight's pitching duel features two unbelievable arms, Zach Wheeler and Justin Wrobleski. Both of these guys are entering the game with 10 wins and ERAs in the twos. Wheeler has been masterful for Philadelphia, holding a 10-1 record with a tiny 2.13 ERA and 108 strikeouts. But the young Dodger lefty, Wrobleski, he's been a revelation himself, coming in at 10-2 with a 2.69 ERA. So we basically have two incredibly potent offenses going right up against two pitchers who simply refuse to give up runs.
But the real standout metric here is Wheeler's jaw-dropping .89 whip. That makes him an absolute nightmare for Dodgers batters. Think about what that actually means. Sitting at .89 means he is essentially allowing less than one base runner per inning. Less than one. If the Dodgers want to utilize that elite team batting average we talked about earlier, they're going to have to crack one of the absolute hardest codes in baseball tonight.
Finally, let's step back and look at the brutal war of attrition both teams are fighting just to stay at the top. Section 6, Road to the World Series, the War of Attrition. Looking at the injury matrix, both squads have key players on the 60-day and 15-day injured list. Honestly, it shows immense resilience from the remaining active rosters. Baseball is a grueling marathon, and it's really taking its toll. The Dodgers are missing massive pieces of their rotation. Tyler Glasnow is out with a back issue, and Blake Snell is sidelined with an elbow injury. Not to mention catcher Will Smith dealing with a neck problem. And the Phillies are feeling it too, losing Brad Keller to a torn UCL, Adolis Garcia to a lot injury, and Johan Rojas to an elbow issue. The fact that these two teams are still completely dominating their respective divisions despite these devastating injuries, that tells you everything you need to know about their incredible depth.
The major silver lining for LA, though, is Shohei Ohtani. Despite recently having his left knee drained right before the All-Star break, there's strong organizational confidence he's going to be pitching again very soon. This is a massive storyline. Ohtani is already contributing so much at the plate. He's hitting .287 with 22 home runs so far this year. But getting his arm back on the mound, that could be the exact piece the Dodgers need to offset those injuries to Glasnow and Snell. So, with the deepest rosters, the best odds, and a rivalry burning hotter than ever, we have to end on this. Are we looking at the 2026 National League Championship matchup right now? I mean, when you look at the raw power of the Phillies, the relentless consistency of the Dodgers, and the top-tier pitching staffs on both sides, it's really hard to imagine anyone else standing in their way. This July series, it's just the appetizer. The real question is, who survives the 7-game war in the fall?